How Israel and Palestine became enemies. Imagine yourself settling into a quiet evening. The world outside fading into a gentle hum as you prepare to journey back through time. Tonight, we invite you to wander through the ancient landscapes of the land called Canaan, a place where history, faith, and destiny intertwine. The story of Israel and Palestine is not just a tale of modern conflict. It is a saga that stretches back thousands of years, rooted in divine promises, human struggles, and the rhythm of lives lived in a land both sacred and contested. This is not a story to stir excitement or unease, but one to guide you gently through the past, offering insight and reflection as you drift toward rest. The conflict between Israel and Palestine is one of the most enduring and complex in human history. For some, it is a spiritual war woven into biblical prophecies and covenants. For others, it is a political struggle over land, identity, and sovereignty. Tonight, we will explore its origins. From the ancient promises made to Abraham to the pivotal moments of the 20th century that shaped the modern divide. Our journey will unfold slowly, like footsteps on a dusty path, through 10 segments that illuminate daily life. Key events, mysteries, and cultural contrasts. Let the weight of the day slip away as we begin. Imagining yourself standing beneath a starlit sky in the ancient Near East, where this story first took root. Daily life immersion. Life in the time of Abraham. Picture yourself in the land of Canaan. Some 4,000 years ago, standing on a sun-warmed hill, overlooking a vast, rolling landscape. The air carries the scent of wild herbs and dry earth, stirred by a soft breeze that rustles the leaves of scattered olive trees. Below, a small encampment of tents made of woven goat hair dots the valley, their dark shapes blending into the ochre tones of the earth. This is the world of Abraham, a nomadic patriarch whose life and choices echo through the ages, setting the stage for the enduring story of Israel and Palestine. In this time, life moves to the rhythm of the seasons and the needs of the flock. Families like Abraham's rise with the dawn, their days filled with the steady tasks of survival. Men and women work side by side, though their roles often differ. Men guide herds of sheep and goats to grazing lands, their staffs tapping against rocky paths as they navigate the rugged terrain. The bleating of animals and the distant call of a herder create a quiet symphony, familiar and constant. Women, meanwhile, tend to the encampment, grinding barley and wheat into flour with smooth, heavy stones, their hands moving in a practiced dance. The scent of baking flatbread rises from clay ovens, mingling with the faint smokiness of burning wood. Water is precious here, drawn from wells or springs, often shared among tribes. Imagine yourself pausing at such a well, its stone rim worn smooth by generations of hands. The act of drawing water is both practical and communal. A moment where stories are exchanged and alliances are quietly forged or tested. Disputes over wells or grazing rights are not uncommon. Yet they are often resolved through negotiation, bound by the customs of hospitality that define this nomadic world. A guest, even a stranger, is offered shade, water, and bread, a sacred obligation that ensures survival in a land where resources are scarce. Children scamper through the encampment, their laughter rising above the low hum of daily tasks. They learn early the skills of their parents: how to mend a tent, how to spot a lamb straying too far, how to read the stars for navigation. Life is not easy, but it is deeply interconnected, each person's role contributing to the survival of the group. The nights are long and quiet, save for the crackle of a fire and the soft murmur of stories told under a canopy of stars, tales of ancestors, of promises made by a God who speaks in dreams and visions. Faith is the heartbeat of this world. For Abraham and his kin, the divine is not distant but ever present, guiding their movements and shaping their destinies. Altars of rough-hewn stone are built at significant place, Sibron, Beersheba, where offerings are made and covenants are sealed. The land itself feels alive with meaning, each hill and valley a testament to the promises of a God who has called this family to a purpose greater than themselves. Yet, even in this sacred landscape, tensions simmer. Other tribes, Canaanites, Amorites, and others, share this land, each with their own customs, gods, and claims. Interactions are sometimes peaceful, sometimes fraught. As resources and space are negotiated in a world where survival demands both cooperation and vigilance. This is a world of constant movement, yet it is also one of deep rootedness. Abraham's people are not merely passing through. They are bound to this land by a promise that will shape the future of two peoples. As you imagine yourself walking these ancient paths, feel the weight of the dust beneath your feet, the warmth of the sun on your shoulders, and the quiet certainty that this land, this moment, holds the seeds of a story that will unfold across millennia. The rhythm of their lives, simple, deliberate, and faith-filled, carries us gently forward into the next chapter of our journey. Biography: Abraham, Isaac, and Ishmael. The roots of a divide as the sun dips below the horizon in ancient Canaan. Imagine yourself seated by a flickering fire, its warmth pushing back the cool night air. The stars above glitter like scattered jewels, and the soft bleating of goats in the distance blends with a murmur of voices sharing stories of their patriarch, Abraham. His life, marked by faith and promise, is the cornerstone of the story we trace tonight, a story of two sons, Isaac and Ishmael, whose paths would diverge, sowing the seeds of a divide that echoes through the ages. Let the rhythm of their lives draw you deeper into this ancient world, where every choice carries the weight of destiny. Abrahamthi are not merely figures in a tale, but men whose lives shaped the heritage of two peoples. Abraham, a man of unwavering faith, left his homeland in Ur, guided by a divine promise to a land flowing with milk and honey. Picture him, staff in hand, leading his household through dusty trails. His eyes fixed on a horizon promised to his descendants. The air is thick with the scent of wild thyme and the faint tang of livestock. As he builds altars of stone, sealing covenants with a God who speaks of nations and blessings. His story, as told in Genesis, is one of trust and patience, waiting decades for the fulfillment of a divine vow. That vow centers on a son, a child through whom God's promise of a great nation would flow. But the path to that promise is not smooth. Abraham's wife, Sarah, is barren, her heart heavy with the ache of unfulfilled hope. In a moment of human frailty, Sarah offers her Egyptian servant, Hagar, to Abraham, hoping to build a family through her. Hagar, a woman caught in the currents of others' decisions, bears Ishmael, child of the desert, born under the vast Canaanite sky. Imagine Hagar, her hands calloused from years of labor, cradling her son as the camp stirs with the sounds of mourning. The clatter of pots, the lowing of cattle, the laughter of children. Ishmael grows strong, his laughter mingling with the wind, a boy destined for greatness. As God promises in Genesis 16:10-12, that he will father a great nation. Yet the divine plan unfolds differently. Sarah, in her old age, miraculously conceives Isaac, the son through whom God's covenant will pass. As declared in Genesis 17:19-21, picture the joy in the camp tents fluttering in the breeze, the scent of roasted lamb rising as the family celebrates this long-awaited child. Isaac, the child of promise, is raised with care, his name meaning laughter, a reminder of Sarah's incredulous joy. But this joy comes at a cost. Tensions simmer between Sarah and Hagar, two women bound by shared hopes, yet divided by circumstance. Sarah, protective of her son's inheritance, urges Abraham to send Hagar and Ishmael away. The decision is heavy, the air thick with unspoken grief, as Abraham complies, trusting God's care for both sons. Imagine Hagar and Ishmael departing, their figures small against the endless expanse of the desert. The sun beats down, the ground parched and unyielding, yet God's promise sustains them. Water is found in the wilderness, a spring amid the desolation. as described in Genesis 21:17, Ishmael's descendants, traditionally linked to the Arab peoples, including those who would become Palestinians, carry forward his legacy of resilience. Isaac, meanwhile, remains in Canaan, his life tied to the land promised to his line, the Israelites. The tents of Abraham's camp fade into the distance, but the divide between these brothers born of the same father, yet set on divergent paths, marks the beginning of a rift that will deepen over centuries. This story is not one of conflict alone, but of promises kept in different ways. Both sons are blessed, yet their descendants will come to see this land through different lenses, one as the fulfillment of a divine covenant, the other as an ancestral homeland. As you imagine yourself by that ancient fire, the embers glowing softly, let the weight of this moment settle gently. The rhythm of their lives, of Abraham's faith, Hagar's endurance, Sarah's hope, carries us forward toward a land where these legacies will intertwine and, at times, clash. Mystery, the Canaanites, and the land's ancient inhabitants as the fire from Abraham's camp fades into embers. Imagine yourself stepping away from the tents, your feet pressing into the cool, sandy earth of Canaan under a star-streaked sky. The air carries a faint hint of cedar and the distant murmur of a stream winding through the valley. This land, promised to Abraham's descendants, is not empty. It pulses with the lives of its ancient inhabitants. The Canaanites and other peoples whose stories are woven into the soil, and their connection to the land that would become the heart of both Israelite and Palestinian identities. Let the rhythm of their lives guide you gently, like a breeze across the hills, into a world both familiar and enigmatic. The Canaanites, a collection of city-states and tribes, are the backdrop against which Abraham's story unfolds. Picture their settlements scattered across the landscape, clusters of mud brick homes with flat roofs, nestled beside terraced fields of barley and vineyards. The scent of ripe figs and freshly turned earth lingers as farmers work the land. Their tools, simple but effective wooden plows pulled by oxen, sickles gleaming in the midday sun. Markets hum with activity, where traders barter pottery painted with swirling patterns, baskets woven from reeds, and bronze tools that glint like the setting sun. The sounds of laughter, haggling, and a clink of goods create a steady cadence, a rhythm of daily life that binds these communities together. Their religion shapes their world, a tapestry of rituals tied to the cycles of nature. Imagine standing before a stone altar on a hilltop, the air thick with the scent of burning incense and offerings of grain. The Canaanites worship a pantheon of God's Baal, the storm god whose rains bring life to the fields. Asherah, the mother goddess whose presence is felt in the groves of sacred trees. Small clay figurines, shaped with care, are tucked into homes or buried beneath thresholds, invoking protection. These practices, vibrant and deeply rooted, contrast with the monotheistic faith of Abraham, who builds his own altars to a single God. Yet, interactions between his people and the Canaanites are not always hostile. Trade, marriage, and shared wells create moments of uneasy coexistence, as described in Genesis 13, where Abraham negotiates with local leaders. The mystery deepens when we consider the origins of these peoples. The Canaanites, along with groups like the Amorites and Jebusites, are described in the Bible as the land's original inhabitants. Yet their story stretches beyond Scripture. Archaeological traces, pottery shards, city walls, and cuneiform tablets reveal a sophisticated culture, with writing systems and trade networks reaching Egypt and Mesopotamia. Some scholars suggest the ancestors of modern Palestinians may trace their lineage to these ancient peoples, their connection to the land enduring through centuries of conquest and change. The Bible, in Deuteronomy 7:1-2, speaks of the Israelites' future displacement of the Canaanites, a divine mandate that would reshape the land. Yet, this was not a singular event, but a gradual process marked by coexistence, conflict, and cultural blending. The land itself holds secrets. Beneath the hills lie buried cities, their stones whispering of lives long past. Excavations at sites like Jericho and Megiddo reveal walls and towers from before Abraham's time, their weathered surfaces bearing the marks of sieges and rebuilding. Conflict was a reality here, as city-states vied for control of fertile valleys and trade routes. Yet, the violence is not the focus. Instead, the resilience of families rebuilding after hardship. Their lives a constant struggle to maintain the rhythms of planting, harvesting, and worship. The land, with its olive groves and rocky slopes, is both a gift and a challenge, shaping the identity of all who call it home. As you stand on this imagined hill, the night air cool against your skin, consider the Canaanite legacy, culture, the religious significance of the land in ancient times. As you linger on that Canaanite hill, the stars above casting a gentle glow over the sleeping valley, imagine the land itself whispering its sacredness. The air is cool now, scented with the faint musk of olive trees and the distant smoke of altar fires. This is Canaan, a land not just of soil and stone, but of divine promises and spiritual meaning, where every hill, spring, and city carries the weight of faith. Tonight, we delve into the cultural heartbeat of this ancient world, exploring how the religious significance of the land shaped the lives of its people, both the Israelites, descended from Abraham's son, Isaac, and the Canaanites, whose descendants may include those who would later call themselves Palestinians. Let the rhythm of their beliefs guide you gently, like a lullaby sung under the desert sky, deeper into this sacred story. For the Israelites, the land of Canaan is more than a home. It is a divine gift, promised by God to Abraham and his descendants through Isaac and Jacob. Picture a family gathered around a stone altar, the scent of roasted lamb rising as they offer thanks for their journey. In Genesis 12:2, 1, 2, 3, God calls Abraham to this land, promising to make him a great nation and to give this place to his offspring as an everlasting inheritance. The land's boundaries, described in Genesis 15:18-21, stretch from the river of Egypt to the Euphrates, a vast expanse that feels alive with purpose. Every step on this soil is a step toward fulfilling a covenant, each hill a reminder of God's voice in the wilderness. Bethel, where Jacob dreams of a ladder to heaven. Hebron, where Abraham buries Sarah. Jerusalem, later chosen as God's dwelling place. These are not just places, but sacred markers woven into the Israelites' identity. Worship is the pulse of their lives. Imagine yourself standing before the altar at Bethel, the stones rough under your fingers, the air heavy with the scent of burning cedar and myrrh. The Israelites offer sacrifices, lambs, or grainage. Act a dialogue with the divine, seeking forgiveness, guidance, or blessing. Festivals mark the seasons. Passover, recalling their future exodus from Egypt. The Feast of Weeks, celebrating the harvest. These rituals bind the people to the land, their prayers rising like the smoke of their offerings, grounding their faith in the physical world. The land is not just theirs to till. It is a partner in their covenant, a living testament to God's faithfulness. Yet the Canaanites, too, see this land as sacred, their beliefs rooted in the cycles of nature. Picture their high places hilltop shrines where priests burn incense to Baal, the storm god who brings rain to the parched fields. The scent of frankincense lingers, mingling with the sweetness of ripe pomegranates offered to Asherah, the mother goddess. Groves of sacred trees, their leaves rustling in the breeze, are places of prayer where clay figurines are left to invoke fertility or protection. The Canaanites' faith is tied to the land's bounty. Their rituals a plea for abundance in a world where drought or flood could mean survival or loss. Their cities, like Jericho with its ancient walls, are not just fortresses, but spiritual centers where the system, the gods, are invoked and offerings are made. The contrast between these two religious worlds is striking, yet there are moments of connection. The Canaanites trade with Abraham's people, their goods and stories mingling in the marketplaces of Hebron or Shechem. Both groups share a reverence for the land, though their gods differ. For the Canaanites, the land's fertility is a divine gift from Baal and Asherah. For the Israelites, it is a promise from the one true God. This shared devotion to the land, however, plants the seeds of future tension, as both peoples see it as their sacred inheritance, a belief that will echo through the centuries. The land's spiritual weight is palpable. Imagine walking the paths of Canaan, the earth warm beneath your feet, the distant chant of prayers carried on the wind. For the Israelites, every stone is a reminder of God's covenant. For the Canaanites, every harvest is a blessing from their gods. This dual claim to the land's sanctity, rooted in faith, sets the stage for a story that is both spiritual and earthly, a story that continues to unfold. As you stand in this ancient landscape, let the quiet reverence of these faiths carry you forward toward the next chapter of our journey. Social life, the tribes of Israel and their neighbors, as the sacred chants of Canaan fade into the night. Imagine yourself walking along a dusty path at dawn, the first light painting the hills in hues of gold and amber. The air is crisp, carrying the scent of dew-soaked grass and the faint smoke of morning fires. Around you, the land of Canaan hums with the lives of its people, not just the Canaanites, but the emerging tribes of Israel, descendants of Abraham's grandson, Jacob, and their neighbors, a mosaic of tribes and city-states. Tonight, we immerse ourselves in the social fabric of this ancient world, where daily interactions, alliances, and tensions shape the rhythm of life. Let this gentle pulse of community draw you deeper, like a soft tide pulling you toward rest. The tribes of Israel, 12 in number, are bound by kinship and covenant, their lives centered around family and faith. Picture a cluster of tents in a valley, their woven walls fluttering in the breeze, surrounded by grazing flocks. Each tribe, Reuben, Judah, Levi, and the others, has its own territory. Yet they share a collective identity as God's chosen people. As recounted in Genesis 49, families rise with the sun, men leading sheep to pasture, while women knead dew for flatbread. The rhythmic slap of hands against dew, blending with the chatter of children. Meals are communal, shared under the shade of a tamarisk tree, the air rich with the aroma of lentils, simmering in clay pots, and the tang of goat's milk. Social bonds are strengthened through customs of hospitality. Imagine a traveler approaching the camp, dusty and weary. He is welcomed with water to wash his feet, a bowl of dates, and a place by the fire. Hospitality is sacred, a duty that ensures survival in a land where trust can mean the difference between life and hardship. Marriages, too, are social glue, often arranged to forge alliances between families or tribes. Picture a betrothal feast. The sound of flutes mingling with laughter as families exchange gifts of woven cloth or bronze jewelry under a canopy of stars. These moments of connection are the heartbeat of the community, a rhythm of unity that sustains them. Yet, the Israelites are not alone. Their neighbors, Canaanites, Amorites, Philistines, and others form a complex web of relationships. In the bustling markets of cities like Shechem or Gaza, Israelite traders barter wool and grain for Canaanite pottery or Philistine iron tools. The clink of goods and the murmur of voices in different tongues fill the air, a testament to shared dependence. But tensions simmer beneath this exchange. Disputes over grazing lands or water sources can flare, as seen in Genesis 26, where Isaac negotiates with the Philistines over wells. These conflicts are often resolved through dialogue or tribute, but they hint at the fragility of coexistence in a land claimed by many. The social world is not without its struggles. Imagine the quiet sorrow of a family mourning a loved one lost to illness or a skirmish with neighboring raiders. Life in Canaan is a constant struggle, yet it is faced with resilience. The Israelites lean on their faith, gathering for festivals like Passover, recounted later in Exodus, where stories of God's deliverance are shared. Their neighbors, too, have their own rituals, offering sacrifices to Baal or Dagon in stone-walled temples, their chants rising into the evening sky. These differences in belief sometimes strain relations. Yet, shared needs, water, trade, safety, create a delicate balance. As you walk this imagined path, the crunch of gravel underfoot and the distant bleating of sheep grounding you feel the rhythm of their lives. The tribes of Israel and their neighbors are bound to this land, their interactions a dance of cooperation and caution. This social tapestry, woven with threads of faith and survival, sets the stage for the deeper divides to come. Let this gentle rhythm carry you forward into the next chapter of our journey. Elite life, the kings and leaders of ancient Israel. As the morning light fades into the golden haze of midday, imagine yourself standing on a hill overlooking Jerusalem, its stone walls rising from the rocky landscape, catching the sun's warmth. The air carries the scent of cedar smoke and the faint clink of masons' tools as the city grows under the watchful eyes of its leaders. We now turn our gaze to the elite of ancient Israel, the kings and rulers whose decisions shaped the land and its people, laying deeper roots for the identity of the Israelites. Descendants of Abraham's line through Isaac and Jacob, their lives, filled with ambition and faith, contrast with the daily rhythms of the tribes. Yet they, too, are part of this sacred land's story. Let the steady cadence of their reigns guide you gently, like a soft breeze through the olive groves, deeper into this ancient world. The rise of Israel's monarchy begins with Saul, the first king, anointed by the prophet Samuel around 1020 BCE. Picture him. A tall figure striding through a camp, his cloak billowing as he rallies warriors to defend the tribes against Philistine raiders. His court is modest, a gathering of advisors in a tent adorned with woven rugs. The air thick with a scent of oil lamps and roasted barley. Saul's life is one of action, his days spent leading men into battle. As recounted in 1 Samuel 11, where he unites the tribes to rescue Jabesh-Gilead. Yet, his rule is marked by a constant struggle, both against external enemies and his own doubts. His leadership, a bridge between the tribal past and a unified nation. The true architect of Israel's golden age, however, is David, whose reign transforms Jerusalem into a capital. Imagine the city under his rule, a bustling hub where scribes record laws on papyrus, their ink-stained fingers moving in the dim light of clay lamps. David, a shepherd turned king, is a complex figure poet, warrior, and servant of God. His palace, though simple compared to later empires, is alive with the sounds of harp music and the murmur of council meetings. The scent of myrrh and frankincense lingers as priests offer sacrifices at the altar, seeking divine guidance. David's conquests, like those over the Philistines and Jebusites, secure the land, but his life is not without sorrow. Personal losses and betrayals, such as the rebellion of his son, Absalom, weigh heavily. Yet his faith remains steadfast, his psalms a testament to a heart devoted to God. Solomon, David's son, inherits a kingdom at peace and builds it into a beacon of wealth and wisdom. Picture his court in Jerusalem, its courtyards lined with polished stone, the air scented with exotic spices from Tredederos, trading partners like Sheba. Solomon's temple, described in 1 Kings 6, rises as a marvel, its cedar beams and gold inlays gleaming in the sun. Diplomats from distant lands bring gifts of ivory and sandalwood, their voices mingling with the chatter of merchants. Solomon's wisdom, renowned across nations, draws seekers of knowledge. But his wealth comes at a cost. Forced labor and heavy taxes stir unrest among the people. His reign, though glorious, sows seeds of division as the burden of his projects strains the unity of the tribes. These kings live lives of privilege, yet their burdens are immense. Imagine David pacing his chambers at night, the weight of a nation on his shoulders, or Solomon mediating disputes between tribal leaders, his decisions shaping the fate of the land. Their meals are richer roasted lamb with honeyed figs, wine poured from silver vessels, but their lives are not untouched by hardship, battles, betrayals, and the constant threat of invasion are their reality. Softened only by moments of worship at the temple, where the scent of incense and the chant of priests offer solace. The elite of Israel, unlike their Canaanite neighbors, rule under a divine mandate, their authority tied to God's covenant. Across the land, Canaanite kings govern city-states like Hazor or Gaza. Their palaces, adorned with colorful frescoes and bronze statues of Baal. Their rule is decentralized. Their power rooted in trade and military might rather than a singular divine promise. Yet, both Israelite and Canaanite leaders share a common bond. The land itself, a sacred trust they seek to protect and govern, each in their own way. As you stand on that Jerusalem hill, the city's walls glowing in the twilight, feel the weight of their reigns. The kings of Israel, with their triumphs and trials, shape a nation bound to the land by faith, while their neighbors carve out their own legacies. This interplay of leadership and ambition, set against the sacred landscape, carries us gently toward the next chapter of our story. Event: the Babylonian exile and its lasting impact. As the golden light of Jerusalem's walls fades into the twilight, imagine yourself transported centuries forward, standing on the banks of a distant river. The Euphrates, its waters glinting under a mournful sky. The air carries the scent of damp reeds and the faint tang of smoke from far-off fires. The year is 587 BCE, and the people of Judah, descendants of Abraham's line through Isaac and Jacob, face a moment that will reshape their identity and their bond with the land of Canaan. This is the Babylonian exile, a pivotal event that scatters the Israelites, deepens their longing for their homeland, and plants seeds of resilience that echo through the ages. Let the gentle flow of the river guide you like a soft current into this chapter of loss and hope. The kingdom of Judah, the southern remnant of Israel's united monarchy, has endured centuries of triumphs and struggles since the days of David and Solomon. But now it faces collapse. Picture Jerusalem under siege, its once proud walls battered by Babylonian forces under King Nebuchadnezzar. The city streets, once alive with the chatter of merchants and the chant of temple priests, are now quiet, save for the distant thud of battering rams and the cries of those holding fast within. In 2 Kings 25, the Bible recounts how the city falls its temple. Solomon's masterpiece is set ablaze, its gold and cedar consumed in flames. The air grows heavy with ash, a bitter reminder of what was lost. The elite priests, nobles, and artisans are bound and led away, their footsteps heavy on the long road to Babylon. Imagine them walking, heads bowed, the dust of Judah clinging to their sandals as they leave behind homes and fields. Families are torn apart, their lives a constant struggle to hold on to hope. Yet, even in exile, they carry the memory of their land, the olive groves of Hebron, the springs of Ein Gedi, the sacred stones of Jerusalem. The scent of their homeland lingers in their minds, a promise of return woven into their prayers. Psalm 137 captures their sorrow. By the rivers of Babylon we sat and wept when we remembered Zion. Life in Babylon is strange, yet not without rhythm. Picture the exiles settling in small communities along the river. Their mud-brick homes, modest but functional. They learn to adapt, trading in markets where the air hums with the sounds of Akkadian and Aramaic. The scent of baked bread and spiced fish rising from stalls. Some rise to prominence, like Daniel, whose wisdom earns him a place in the Babylonian court, as told in the book of Daniel. Others labor as farmers or craftsmen, their hands shaping clay or weaving linen, preserving their skills and their faith. Synagogues begin to emerge, places where scrolls are read and prayers are offered, keeping the covenant alive in a foreign land. The exile is not merely a physical displacement. It is a spiritual crucible. Will the promise to Abraham endure? Prophets like Jeremiah and Ezekiel offer hope, their words a lifeline. Ezekiel 37 speaks of dry bones brought to life, a vision of restoration that sustains the exile's dreams of return. After decades, a new empire rises. Persian King Cyrus decrees in 538 BCE that the Jews may return to Jerusalem, as recorded in Ezra 1. Imagine the joy, tempered by uncertainty, as families gather their belongings. The scent of fresh papyrus and ink mingling with the dust of the road home. The return is not a simple homecoming. The land they reclaim is changed, inhabited by others' descendants of those left behind and neighboring peoples, perhaps including early ancestors of what would become the Palestinian population. Rebuilding Jerusalem's walls and temple is a labor of faith. The air filled with the clink of hammers and the scent of fresh-cut stone. Yet tensions simmer as returning exiles and local inhabitants navigate competing claims to the land, a faint echo of disputes to come. The exile strengthens the Israelites' bond to their homeland, forging a resilient identity tied to God's promise, even as it sows seeds of division in a land shared by many. As you stand by the Euphrates, the river's gentle flow, a reminder of time's passage, feel the weight of this moment. The Babylonian exile is a story of loss and renewal, a chapter that deepens the Israelites' connection to their land, while setting the stage for future struggles. Let this quiet resilience carry you forward into the next part of our journey. contrasting daily life, the Jewish diaspora, and Palestinian ancestors in the Roman era. As the dust of ancient excavations settles. Around the 1st century CE, the air is warm, scented with the tang of olive presses and the faint smoke of village hearths. The land once called Canaan is now at crossroads of empires, its hills and valleys home to both the Jewish people, descendants of Abraham's line, through Isaac, and other local populations, including those whose descendants may one day be called Palestinians. Tonight, we contrast the daily lives of these groups, the Jewish diaspora, beginning to scatter across the Roman world, and the local inhabitants tied to the land, exploring how their rhythms of existence diverged, yet intertwined in this sacred landscape. Let the gentle hum of their lives, like the murmur of a marketplace, guide you deeper into this story of resilience and identity. For the Jewish people in Judea, life is a blend of tradition and adaptation under the shadow of Roman occupation. Picture a village near Jerusalem, its stone houses clustered around a synagogue, where the scent of fresh-baked bread and the sound of Torah readings fill the morning air. Families rise with the dawn, men tending vineyards or herding goats, their calloused hands stained with grape juice or earth. Women weave linen or grind barley, the rhythmic creak of looms blending with children's laughter. The Sabbath is sacred, a pause in the week's labor, when families gather under flickering oil lamps to share meals of lentils, figs, and wine, reciting blessings that echo the promises of Abraham. Yet, Roman taxes weigh heavily, and the presence of soldiers, their armor clinking as they patrolled tension to daily life. The Jewish people cling to their faith. Their synagogues are refuge where scrolls are unrolled, and stories of exile and return sustain hope, as seen in the Psalms read aloud. Some Jews, however, are already part of a growing diaspora, scattered across cities like Alexandria or Rome. Imagine a Jewish family in Antioch, their home a modest apartment above a bustling market, the air thick with the scent of spices and roasted fish. They are merchants or artisans, trading in textiles or crafting silver, their lives shaped by the rhythms of urban life. They gather in diaspora synagogues, their prayers in Hebrew a tether to Jerusalem, though they adopt Greek names and speak the common tongue. The diaspora is a constant struggle to maintain identity in foreign lands, yet it fosters resilience. As communities preserve their laws and festivals like Passover, recalling their ancestral home. The destruction of the Second Temple in 70 CE, a devastating blow described in Josephus' accounts, scatters more Jews, deepening this diaspora and their longing for the land of Judea. Contrasting this, the local non-Jewish inhabitants, ancestors of those who would later form the Palestinian identity. Live lives rooted in the land's rhythms. Picture a family in a village near Gaza, their home of mud brick, surrounded by fields of wheat and olive groves. They are farmers, fishermen, or traders. Their days filled with the steady tasks of sowing seeds or hauling nets, the air salty with sea breeze or dusty from harvest. Their religious practices blend Canaanite, Hellenistic, and later Christian influences, with offerings made at small shrines to gods like Dagon or, increasingly, to the God of the Christians. Markets are their social hubs where they barter pottery or dried dates. Their voices mingling with those of Jewish neighbors in a shared economy. Life is not without hardship. Roman taxes and occasional revolts disrupt the peace. But their connection to the land is unbroken, their villages enduring through centuries of rule. The Jewish revolt against Rome, like the Great Revolt of 66 to 70 CE, bring moments of turmoil. Imagine the air thick with smoke as villages are caught in the crossfire. Lives disrupted by the clash of zealots and legions. The aftermath, with Jerusalem's temple in ruins, marks a turning point, scattering Jewish communities and reshaping the region. Yet, the local inhabitants, including Samaritans and others, remain. Their lives a constant struggle to maintain their way of life under new rulers. These peoples, blending indigenous roots with later Arab influences, form a continuity with the land, their descendants inheriting a deep attachment to its soil. As you stand in this imagined Judea, the sun dipping low, casting long shadows across the hills, feel the contrast between these lives. The Jewish people, bound by covenant, yet scattered by empire, and the local inhabitants, rooted in the land's cycles, shared this sacred space, their stories entwined yet distinct. This interplay of presence and absence, rootedness and longing, carries us gently toward the next chapter of our journey. Event: the establishment of Israel and the Nakba. As the echoes of Roman Judea fade, imagine yourself stepping into the mid-20th century. Standing on a hill overlooking the land now called Palestine, its rolling fields dotted with olive groves and stone villages. The air carries the scent of blooming citrus and the distant hum of a bustling port city. But beneath this calm lies a land on the cusp of transformation. It is 1948, a year of triumph and tragedy, when the modern state of Israel is born, and the Palestinian people face what they call the Nakba, or catastrophe. This pivotal moment, rooted in ancient promises, yet shaped by modern struggles, marks a turning point in the story of Israel and Palestine. Let the rhythm of this history, like the gentle lapping of waves on a shore, guide you through this chapter of hope, loss, and enduring dreams. The early 20th century sets the stage for this seismic shift. Picture the land under Ottoman rule, then British control after World War I. Its markets alive with the clatter of carts and the scent of fresh bread. Jewish immigrants, driven by the Zionist vision of a homeland and fleeing persecution in Europe, arrive in increasing numbers, their footsteps mingling with those of Arab villagers who have tilled this land for generations. The Balfour Declaration of 1917, promising a Jewish homeland, stirs hope among Jews, but unease among Arabs who fear displacement. By the 1930s, tensions rise. Imagine the air thick with the murmur of protests, the occasional clash of stones and shouts in towns like Jaffa or Jerusalem. The Holocaust, a devastating tragedy that claims millions of Jewish lives, adds urgency to the Zionist cause as survivors seek refuge in Palestine, their hearts heavy yet hopeful. In 1947, the United Nations proposes a partition plan, dividing Palestine into Jewish and Arab states, with Jerusalem under international control. Picture diplomats in distant halls, their pens scratching out borders on maps, unaware of the lives these lines will reshape. Jewish leaders, led by David Ben-Gurion, accept the plan, seeing it as a step toward their ancestral homeland promised in Genesis 15. Arab leaders, representing a majority population, rejected, viewing it as an unjust division of their ancestral land. The air grows tense, the scent of uncertainty mingling with the dust of unpaved roads, as both sides brace for what comes next. On May 14, 1948, as the British Mandate ends, Ben-Gurion declares the establishment of Israel. Imagine the joy in Jewish communities, flags raised, voices singing in the streets of Tel Aviv. The air alive with a scent of celebration and the hope of a new beginning. For Jews, this is the fulfillment of Ezekiel's prophecy of restoration, a return to the land after centuries of exile. But for Palestinians, this moment marks the Nakba, as war breaks out with neighboring Arab nations attacking the new state. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians flee or are driven from their homes. Picture families leaving villages, their footsteps heavy, carrying only what they can: blankets, a few pots, memories of olive trees left behind. Over 700,000 Palestinians become refugees. There lives a constant struggle as villages are emptied, some razed, their stone walls crumbling into the earth. The war, known to Israelis as the War of Independence, is fierce but brief. By 1949, armistice agreements leave Israel controlling 78% of historic Palestine, with the West Bank and Gaza under Jordanian and Egyptian control. Imagine the silence that follows, broken only by the wind through abandoned fields or the soft weeping of displaced families in refugee camps. Their tents flapping in the breeze. The Nakba is not just a moment, but a lasting trauma, shaping Palestinian identity with a deep sense of loss and a yearning for return. For Israelis, the victory is a miracle, a new nation built on ancient promises. Yet, it comes with the weight of ongoing conflict. This moment of 1948 is a crossroads. For Jews, it is a restoration, the air filled with the hope of a homeland secure at last. For Palestinians, it is a dispossession, their connection to the land severed, yet unbroken in memory. As you stand on this hill, the sun setting over a changed landscape, feel the weight of these dual narratives. The rhythm of their lives, triumph for one, tragedy for another, carries us gently toward our final reflections. Conclusion. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting a soft glow over the hills of this ancient land, imagine yourself settling back into the present, the weight of history gently lifting from your shoulders. The air is calm now, carrying only the quiet hum of your own breath, a reminder of the peace that surrounds you in this moment. Our journey through the story of Israel and Palestine, from the tents of Abraham to the pivotal year of 1948, has been one of promises and struggles, faith and loss, a tapestry woven with the threads of two peoples bound to the same sacred soil. Tonight, we have walked their paths, felt the rhythm of their lives, and traced the roots of a divide that continues to shape our world. The land of Canaan, promised to Abraham's descendants, has been a stage for divine covenants and human dreams. We've seen the Israelites, through Isaac and Jacob, build a nation rooted in God's promise, their altars and temples a testament to faith. We've walked among the Canaanites and their successors, whose lives, tied to the land's cycles, echo in the heritage of those who would become Palestinians. From the Babylonian exile to the Roman era, from ancient kings to modern refugees, each chapter has deepened our understanding of this land as significance, a place where spiritual and earthly claims intertwine, where joy and sorrow coexist like the light and shadow of a single day. The events of 1948, with Israel's birth and the Palestinian Nakba, mark a modern turning point, yet they are part of a story that stretches back millennia. For Jews, the return to their homeland fulfills prophecies like Ezekiel's vision of dry bones restored, a miracle born of resilience. For Palestinians, the loss of their villages is a wound still felt, their dreams of return a constant struggle against the passage of time. Both peoples carry the weight of their histories, their narratives shaped by the same land, yet seen through different lenses. This story is not one of simple answers, but of lives lived with hope and hardship, each step a testament to their enduring connection to this place. Now, as you rest in the comfort of your own space. Let the turmoil of the past fade into a gentle whisper. The struggles of ancient tribes, the sieges of Jerusalem, the long roads of exile and displacement, they are distant, now softened by time. You are here in a moment of quiet, where the scent of history gives way to the calm of the present. Reflect, if you wish, on the resilience of those who came before. Their faith and fortitude, a quiet lullaby for your thoughts. Or let your mind drift, carried by the rhythm of their lives, toward the peace of sleep. The land of Israel and Palestine remains a story unfinished, its future unwritten. Yet tonight you have journeyed through its past, a traveler in time, guided by the stars that shone over Abraham's tents and the hills that hold the memories of countless generations. As you close your eyes, imagine those stars still shining, a canopy of light over a land that dreams of peace. Rest now, wrapped in the warmth of this moment, and let the gentle tide of history carry you into the night. That wraps up our deep dive into how Israel and Palestine became enemies. If you want to explore this topic further, request a follow-up video, or suggest new angles. Drop your thoughts in the comments or message us directly.